My name is Mira Halstead. I'm 34 years old, and I have learned that money has a smell. It's not cash, it's starch. It's the press of linen napkins folded into swans that are expected to become dinner for your children. I teach ninth grade algebra at a public high school. I like clean spreadsheets, cheap coffee, and schedules that keep their promises. I have 2 kids. Max is 9, Lily is 6. Their dad and I split 3 years ago, and we co-parent like a modest little company. Shared calendar, alternating weekends, receipts in a folder labeled kids, real expenses. When people in my family say I'm good with numbers, what they mean is I'm always good for it. Family reunions used to be paper plates in my grandparents' backyard, deviled eggs, folding chairs, an aunt who always cried in the driveway and said she wasn't. This year, Mom booked a restaurant with white tablecloths, servers who could balance 3 plates in one hand, and lighting that made everyone believe they'd made better choices. She sent the invite with a PDF agenda, arrive 5:45, group photo 6:10, dinner 6:30, cake 7:20. Smart casual, children welcome, plus a winky emoji and a line about family style to prevent over-ordering. We arrived 5 minutes early because lateness makes my skin fizz. Max wore a dinosaur t-shirt under a sweater because sweaters are for tricking people. Lily insisted on her sparkly shoes because restaurants like sparkle. I had crayons and apple slices in my tote, field medic gear for public dining. Mom saw us and performed delight. "Look at you," she said, kissing the air near my cheek. Last year's perfume smudged across this year's niceness. My older sister Jen glided in 2 minutes later with her daughters in matching bows. Behind them cruised Trevor, her husband, whose personality is logo jackets and a handshake emoji. He clapped my shoulder. Teacher chic, Mira. The waiter delivered his little speech about family-style starters and kids' boxes with pasta, fruit, dessert, and a craft element. He smiled like he loved his job. I wanted to love it too. While he talked, Mom slid a stack of napkins to my end of the table. She fanned them like cards and parked them right in front of Max and Lily. "We didn't order for your kids," she said, soft like a kindness. "They can nibble the mains. We don't want to spoil appetites." "They're not appetites," I said. "They're children." Mom fluttered her hand. "You know what I mean." "Guess what?" Jen Stage whispered to her girls. "Surprise boxes with desserts." The girls squealed on cue. The waiter brought 2 cardboard carriers shaped like tiny houses and set them down in front of Jen's daughters. "2 kids' packages, 65 each," he said pleasantly. Then to me, "Shall I bring 2 more?" I opened my mouth. Mom's hand moved first. She nudged the napkins closer, dealing a different kind of meal. "No, we'll share," she told him. "We're a sharing care family." Trevor added without looking up, "Be grateful they were invited." He said it like a joke. It wasn't. Max tugged my sleeve. "Are napkins food?" "Not yet," I said. The table got loud in the way families get loud. Stories stacked on stories. Laughter used like bubble wrap. Bread baskets landed. Salads spun. Careful hands reached. My kids said please and thank you and drew mazes on the paper menus that weren't meant for them. Across the table, Jen's girls unboxed their private feast. Everyone nodded at the choreography like we'd rehearsed it. The first trigger wasn't the napkins. It wasn't even be grateful. It was the glance Mom gave the waiter when he hovered with that black leather check presenter like a bird waiting to land. She tipped her chin at me, the universal gesture for she'll handle it. "Mira will settle," she said lightly, a kindness disguised as a sentence. The waiter looked at me. I looked at my kids coloring a cat that had become an oval with ears. In my chest, something shifted from later to now. I placed my palm flat on the table and felt it steady under my hand. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Noah, my boyfriend, sent a text. "How's the fancy circus? Need rescue?" I pictured his easy half smile, the way he says you don't owe anyone a performance. Another unread name sat just below his on my lock screen. Vanessa, his ex. One of those circular texts that still tries to find him sometimes. I didn't open either. Not here. Not in this exact moment where my family's favorite math problem, Mira equals wallet, had finally reached its unsolvable step. I didn't stand up. Not yet. I just breathed the way I teach my freshmen to breathe when a test looks hostile. In for 4, out for 6. I watched the magician waiter float between tables like a man choosing which fire to put out first. He was about to land at ours with that folder and a fixed idea of how families behave. Across from me, Trevor drummed an imaginary seminar on value into the table. "Buddy," he said to no one, "time is money." Jen smiled a public smile, the kind that photographs as virtue. Mom touched my wrist. "Don't make this a thing," she murmured. I slid my hand out from under hers and folded my napkin on my lap like I'd been appointed lead adult. In a way, I had been. When the waiter returned, with the check tucked beneath his arm like a secret, the room didn't change noise. It changed pressure. Everyone's attention leaned without moving. I lifted my chin so he could hear me cleanly, not as a whisper, trying to be permission. "Could you split the bill?" I asked. "By who was actually served?" He blinked, then nodded like a man who had been waiting all shift for someone to say a normal sentence. Behind me, Mom laughed too brightly. "Oh, Mira, it's one bill. We always do one bill." "Not tonight," I said, and the words felt like a door finally finding its hinge. The waiter's pen hovered like it could smell trouble. "Itemized split," he said, recovering his smile. "By seat and by items actually delivered." He placed the black folder against his forearm like a tray. "Give me 3 minutes." Mom's laugh pitched upward. "We're together," she told his retreating back, as if proximity were a payment method. Jen's smile thinned by degrees. "Mira, this is tacky." "It's accurate," I said. Trevor leaned back with his arm over the chair, a discount king portrait. "Look, it's one bill. We're family. We do one bill." "Family style is not a billing doctrine," I said softly. 2 children at your end were served $65 boxes. My children were served napkins. We'll pay for what we ate." Max glanced up, worried. I squeezed his knee. Lily whispered, "Is napkin dinner over?" I whispered back, "Yes, baby." Mom's hand landed on mine again, lighter, stickier. "Be grateful," she murmured, the phrase that has chewed my name down to a nub since I was 15. "You were invited. Your sister has a lot on her plate." "So do I said, "but it's not pre-priced." The waiter returned with 3 black folders and a look of private relief. He set one by my parents, one in front of Jen and Trevor, and one at my elbow. "I split by what I saw delivered," he said. "Kids' packages, too, are on this check." He tapped near Jen's water glass. "Shared mains and beverages are distributed by seats. Adjustments are easy if I missed anything." Jen opened hers like it might explode. $1.98? And why is there kids' package twice? Trevor squinted at the printout, then announced, "Because there are 2 kids' packages." Mom flipped her folder, her mouth making that little O that has narrated my entire childhood. 224. We hardly ate. Dad stared at his hands, went to speak, didn't. He has never loved conflict. He loves muted sports and pretending numbers are weather. I opened mine, 39 before tip. 2 sodas, a plate my kids actually ate, a side of vegetables they ignored. My chest loosened, like a knot that had finally admitted it was only a bow. I slid my card in and closed the folder. "I'll take care of ours." "Thank you," I told the waiter. "Put that away," Mom hissed. "No, you're embarrassing yourself. I'm correcting bad math." Trevor tapped the table. "Mira, last month we watched your kids for an hour so you could run to school for an emergency. Did I send a Venmo?" "You did," I said, "for $40. You also ate my Doritos and took my last Gatorade." A cousin coughed into her water. Another cousin looked wildly fascinated by a salt shaker. Jen leaned forward, palms up, pious. "You're punishing my girls." "My kids were given napkins," I said. "They're fine." The waiter collected my folder with an almost imperceptible nod, the solidarity of service workers who have seen the private economies of families. He moved to Jen. She slid her card in with a sound like a bitten lip. Trevor added his with a flourish that wanted to count as cash. Mom held her folder closed like a hymn book. "Your father and I will discuss." "You'll pay for what you ate," I said gently, "like everyone." Her eyes sharpened. I watched her assemble a speech. Braces, rides to tutoring, grocery bags that were more choreography than subsidy. I have done this dance 100 times, paid for the music too. I set my palm flat again, a metronome to keep myself from over-explaining. My phone buzzed. Noah. "Proud of you. Need me to swing by with chocolate milkshakes after?" My treat. Beneath it, the ghost of Vanessa's earlier DM sat unopened. Some old photo resurfaced, a remember when fishing hook. I swiped Noah's text into my pocket like a pocket square and ignored the rest. Buddy, Trevor said to Dad, performing camaraderie, this is why we do one bill. It's simpler. Simple for who? I asked. People who trust each other, Trevor said. I trust receipts, I said. They don't change their story. Mom exhaled through her nose, the disappointed hoarse sound. This family doesn't nickel and dime. This family has been nickel and diming me for a long time, I said. I didn't raise my voice. I stacked each word like a block you could not knock over without making a scene. The waiter returned, set down slips with the care of a surgeon. Everything's squared by item, he said. Sign when you're ready. I tipped like someone who has watched people carry more than plates. Across the table, Trevor calculated tip out loud, arriving at a number that protected his self-image more than the staff. Jen signed with a flourish that could not disguise a tremble. Max leaned toward me. Did we do something wrong? No, I said, we're doing something right. Mom scanned the room for a camera that wasn't there. Group photo, she announced weakly, checking the PDF schedule printed in her head. No one stood. The cake migrated back to the kitchen like a ship changing ports. I helped Max and Lily into their jackets. The room had that after-storm clarity, air washed clean. I felt a tiny click inside me, a latch closing that had been open for years. At the door, Mom tried for a parting shot. You could have handled this privately. I tried, I said, for a decade. We stepped into an evening that smelled like someone else's dessert. The valet brought Trevor's SUV first. Of course he did. In the car, my phone lit up like a slot machine. Jen, you humiliated me. Mom, call me. I will forgive you if you apologize. Trevor, a fresh Venmo request, $22.40, labeled bread plus shared apps. Aunt Karen, sweetheart, you overreacted, but we love you. I turned the screen face down. Chocolate or vanilla? I asked. Chocolate, they said in stereo. We clinked paper cups at the drive-thru with the enormous neon cone. To surviving fancy restaurants, I said. Max declared it a holiday. Lily asked if holidays can happen on Tuesdays. Especially Tuesdays, I said. At home, pajamas, 2 pages twice, nightlights. I sat on the couch and opened the family group chat. Messages stacked like accusations wearing perfume. I deleted replies until only one sentence remained. The clean line I'd been building toward for years. New policy for me. I pay for what I order and who I bring. No group bills, no we'll settle later, no babysitting invoices. If it's a real emergency, call me. If it's not, budget. I hit send. The thread buzzed enough to migrate across the coffee table. I switched on Do Not Disturb and wrote a sticky note for the fridge in block letters, the way I teach. You're allowed to owe yourself first. The apartment exhaled. In the kids' room, Max dreamed out loud about infinite pancakes. Lily murmured, sparkly shoes, and smiled in her sleep. In my pocket, Noah pinged once more. Proud of you, X2. I pictured the way his hand finds the small of my back without turning me into cargo. I put the phone down and sat still long enough to notice the quiet had a new shape. Less like absence, more like space. The next morning, the quiet felt artificial, the kind that hums before thunder. My phone pulsed on the counter. 10 unread messages from Mom, 6 from Jen, 1 from Trevor labeled Running Totals XLS. Trevor had actually attached a spreadsheet. A spreadsheet. Columns, color-coded, labeled Shared Family Contributions. My name had its own tab. I didn't open it. I archived it. Then I made oatmeal for the kids and sprinkled cinnamon like confetti because you can't cry when something smells like breakfast. At school, during third period, I checked voicemail between classes. Mom's voice. Mira, I don't know what got into you. You made me look small in front of my mother. Your sister is devastated. Be the bigger person. Apologize and I'll forgive you. That word, forgive, landed like a mosquito bite. It itched where old guilt lived. I deleted the message before she could finish. When I got home, Noah was waiting on the stoop with takeout and a grin. I brought reinforcements, tie and dessert. He kissed my temple like punctuation. You okay? I'm arithmetic, I said. Balanced but still tired. He smiled. That's my favorite kind of algebra. We ate on the floor because the couch was full of folded laundry and exhaustion. Between bites, he said, You know, Vanessa texted me today. I raised a brow. Your ex Vanessa? He nodded. A photo from 3 years ago. Caption said, We were happier when we didn't care about rules. I chewed. You didn't reply? He shook his head. No need. Some people send ghosts to test if you're still haunted. I smiled faintly. Seems like we both passed our test this week. He reached for my hand. You finally told them no, huh? I told them math. That night, after he left, I opened my bank app. One checking account, one savings account. I created a new folder titled Kids Only. Every payday, I'd move $100 there. Small enough to keep me humble, big enough to remind me who the money was for. By Friday, the storm reached social media. Jen posted a photo of her girls in matching pajamas, protecting their joy. Trevor posted a boomerang of a wallet snapping shut with the caption, "Boundaries go both ways." I muted them both. The next day, a knock. Mom stood on the porch holding a tin of cookies like a peace treaty. I met her at the door but didn't invite her in. "Let's reset," she said. "Family movie night Saturday. I'll make lasagna." "No thanks. Don't be ridiculous." "I'm not," I said. "I'm choosing." Her eyes narrowed. "Do you remember who paid for your braces? Who drove you to tutoring? You act like we never did anything for you." "You were my parents," I said quietly. "That was the job. It wasn't a loan." She drew in a sharp breath. "Your sister has a lot on her plate." "So do I. 2 kids, 1 salary. I teach, Mom, not crypto." She lifted the tin like a white flag. "Cookies. Take them to Jensen's. She likes to be grateful." The word cracked like old glass. "Stop saying that," I said. "I'm your daughter, not your guest." She blinked, like maybe she heard it differently this time. "You've changed." "I've finally shown my work," I said. She left the cookies on the floor beside the door like a package no one wanted to sign for. I left them there until bedtime, then slid them into the freezer. Rage cookies keep well cold. That weekend, Aunt Karen texted, "Uncle Ray's iPad won't work. Can you swing by? We'll feed you lasagna." I wrote back, "My rate for tech support is $90 per hour. Just kidding. No, sorry." It felt good to joke about saying no, to make refusal sound almost friendly. Sunday morning, I took Max and Lily to the park instead of the usual family brunch that costs more than a week of groceries. They ran until their cheeks went pink, the kind of happiness that doesn't come with a receipt. That afternoon, I enrolled them in a weekend community program, art, sports, music, all run by the local rec center. $35 each. They'd come home smelling like gym mats and pride. Monday came gentle. The world didn't collapse. My phone buzzed less. The family group chat slowed from argument to polite frost. Then, one evening, Grandpa called. His voice was gravel and affection. "You okay, kid?" "I am," I said. "Good," he said. "Your grandmother says you were right." "About what?" "The waiter," he chuckled. "Finally someone asked for math." When we hung up, I laughed until the kettle whistled. Later, I texted Mom one line. "Please send Grandma's mixing bowls next time you're by." She replied with a thumbs-up emoji. No words. A week later, a brown paper package arrived at my door. Inside, wrapped in tissue that smelled faintly like her spice cabinet, were the bowls. No note, no apology, just return. I washed them carefully, ran my fingers along the cool ceramic edges, and whispered, "Progress." Then I made popcorn. Too much popcorn. The kids laughed when it overflowed the bowls. "Mom," Max said, "this bowl is too big." "Then it's perfect," I said. That night, I sat at the kitchen table, watching their heads bowed over homework. For the first time in years, I didn't feel smaller for being responsible. I felt solid, like a number that finally balanced. 2 weeks later, silence became its own kind of weather. Not cold, not warm, just steady. The group chat that once buzzed like a hive now clicked only for holidays and forwarded memes. No invoices, no guilt trips disguised as gratitude. Just a strange quiet I didn't recognize at first. On Tuesday morning, Lily drew a picture of our kitchen. 3 bowls, 2 kids, 1 woman with a bun like a question mark. She wrote Mom L. Strong underneath it, backwards S and all. I nearly cried into her cereal. At school, my students teased me for smiling too much. "Ms. Halstead, you win the lottery or something?" one asked. "Something," I said. "Balance." That night after grading, I found an unopened text from Jen. Just 2 words. "Are we good?" Not punctuation, just a pulse. I typed, deleted, typed again. "We can be, if you stop expecting me to be your budget." I hit send before I could soften it. Her reply came a minute later. "Wow." I let it sit. Silence again, but lighter this time. On Friday, Noah showed up after work with milkshakes and a smile. He kissed me in that unhurried way that made the rest of the world feel temporary. I saw Jen's post, he said, settling on the couch beside me. Something about learning the value of family unity. I laughed. Translation, damage control. He grinned. You handled that dinner like an economist with emotional intelligence. I just paid my share. And you taught them a math lesson no one forgets. He passed me a chocolate milkshake for surviving generational accounting. I raised the cup. For surviving people who confuse love with loans. We clinked straws like a toast. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like I owed anyone anything, not even an explanation. That weekend, the kids and I declared pancake night official. We measured flour like lab scientists, turned fractions into art. Max shaped a pancake into an infinity sign and shouted, "Infinite breakfast!" Lily clapped, syrup in her hair, sugar on her nose. The kitchen filled with the sound of sizzling batter and laughter, the soft music of an unborrowed life. No guilt, no checks waiting to be signed, just warmth, noise, and belonging that didn't need proof. Later, after the kids were asleep, I sat on the couch with Grandma's bowls stacked neatly on the table, gleaming under the lamplight. The biggest one still smelled faintly of buttered popcorn, the smallest of cinnamon. I thought about every "be grateful" that used to sting like static. Grateful had always meant quiet in my family, a command, not a feeling. But that night, it finally felt honest. Grateful to have said no. Grateful that no one else owned my yes. Before bed, I scribbled one more sticky note and pressed it to the fridge above the kids' artwork. Saying no is how you make room for what deserves your yes. The house was still, full, but not heavy. Even the silence had learned new manners. It stayed without pressing. Out the window, the street lamps hummed over parked cars, the city holding its breath in gold. I thought of that night at the restaurant. The napkins, the noise, the small revolution that began with a sentence. It hadn't been a rebellion. It had been arithmetic, subtracting guilt, dividing blame, multiplying peace. When the wind rattled the window, Lily stirred in her sleep and whispered, "Mom?" "I'm here," I said from the hallway. And for once, that was all I needed to be.